Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Week 6, Day 2 of the LCS Academy Summer. My name is Joshua Joshi Howard, and today I'm going to be bringing you 100 Thieves Academy taking on Team Liquid Academy. And before we even start talking about the standings, what this does for the rest of the season, gotta take a look at this Kog'Maw that Team Liquid is already bringing into the mid lane. We've been seeing a little bit more play of this champion, both in the bottom lane and in the mid lane, simply as it's had a couple of its ratios and base damages improved for its abilities, but unfortunately, it hasn't been having a whole lot of success overall. Pretty much anywhere that you look. The best regions seem to have about a 50% win rate with it, but globally, it's sitting much lower than that, only at about a 41% win rate here in the mid lane. And Yusui actually bringing it against the one North American team who has had a little bit of success with this champion. 100 Thieves Academy just last week were able to play this up against FLICKR, where Triple was playing it, and they had some success. That said, we'll see what it ends up doing. It doesn't necessarily provide a whole lot of aggressive push. It functions very similar to characters like the Ziggs, but we'll get more into that in just a moment. Right now, we see 100 Thieves going for a late invade, just checking with the axes as they start taking a look at this blue buff, and at least Team Liquid are going to have a pretty good idea of this. You saw Rikara poking his head out. Meteos isn't going to be able to get this entirely for free, and already we're seeing a pretty drastic change in what a lot of people were looking at in this game. And there's so much to talk about with so many of the champions that have been picked up here. Obviously, top lane is going to be very interesting. We have Gangplank versus the Camille. This is a lane that has had a lot of skill expression over the years and remains exactly the same. So Fake God being willing to pick up that Camille after the Gangplank was already shown, showing a lot of confidence. But we'll get back to that right now. Meteos doing a pretty interesting thing. He runs from his opponent's blue directly to his own blue, and he's going to get there in time. We're going to see a smite fight between these two, but Greg, not willing to challenge a level 2 Olaf, is going to end up losing a ton of time over here. He tries to come over, make sure he doesn't get 3-buffed, but already Meteos is going to head that off and find themselves a pretty large lead. And this is going to be changing things once again. I wanted to talk about how we were going to see this vertical jungle, how Greg was going to go from his red buff to his opponent's blue buff and give Jenkins a ton of safety up in the top lane, whereas the other side was going to be the weak side, where Meteos was going to be. He was going to be pushing his opponent's blue buff to his own red buff, but now Jenkins put himself in a little bit of a danger because of how aggressively Meteos has been pathing. But everything is going to be kind of settling back into an interesting spot. You see the red side pushing the top wave into the Camille, and the bottom lane with the push that the Karma is able to provide, able to push into the early power of the Ashe and the Thresh. And all that seems to have settled down a little bit. Greg is a little bit behind in tempo, not going to be able to get to these crabs nearly as quickly. Meteos will probably be able to not only 3-buff his opponent, but possibly 2-crab him as well, seeing as Soligo has been having a lot of opportunity to push in this Kog'Maw, who, as we all know, not a particularly strong champion early on in the game, and now Greg walking over, going to see that the crab is already gone, gonna have to back away. Alright, with all that early stuff out of the way, we got to start framing where these two teams are going to actually be looking for their win conditions. And one of the interesting things that we've been seeing in League of Legends recently is this Ezreal. And a lot of people, I know, you're groaning, we've seen this Ezreal before, it builds the sheen, it's got this big 2-item power spike. Yes, Josh, we've heard all of this in the past. But in this game, it was actually the first pick coming out for 100 Thieves. They were willing to blind pick that just completely, you know, uncontested. They were very happy to grab it, and it's because it's been such a safe champion for such a long time. And unfortunately, if we look at Team Liquid's composition that they've drafted for themselves, they didn't really pick anything to answer particularly well. If you look at what they've managed to grab for themselves, they have almost no backline access, and so instead they're going to be reliant on snowballing some of these early lanes, but they don't have the tools for that really either. We're going to be coming up to try and find Fake God, blows his flash, but Fake God already with the hook shot, going to jump away and not even going to be in even a little bit of danger. But yeah, Gangplank, Kog'Maw, Ashe, these champions all are known for their scaling ability, their ability to be strong in the late game, but Ezreal operates at a range of much greater than any of these champions. It's going to be very difficult for them to even do damage to him later on in the game, and right now it's not like he's missing early power. You see right there the root comes down, Breezy locks down Yama, and Prismal can be finding the first kill. So this is already looking very bad. Yusui getting jumped on, already forced to flash as well. Meteos doesn't even have to blow anything. Fake God misses a little bit of a hook shot, but yeah, this is going to be a bit of a problem. Team Liquid have been showing a little bit of a lack of ability to play the early game. Their lanes are individually strong, but they don't seem to be particularly coordinated. Where on the other side, 100 Thieves, don't be fooled by their 5 and 6 and current 7th place standings. They're only one game behind 3rd place, which is generally sitting at 6 and 5. These guys have had some pretty strong early games, just as we saw yesterday in their game versus current 1st place Academy team TSM, where they able to come up to a pretty big early lead, and we're seeing a similar thing right now as Prismal and Breezy are able to just win the 2v2 for themselves. They're able to find that early kill. Meteos has built a pretty big individual lead over Grig, and this is because Team Liquid haven't been as coordinated. That said, 100 Thieves have not shown to be super coordinated in the mid and late game, and they've been giving teams like TSM a lot of opportunities to bring themselves back. They've been getting caught out as they start rotating. Their vision control hasn't necessarily been particularly stellar, and it's been really hurting them in their ability to actually close out games. So we'll see if Team Liquid can start taking advantage of that. They've been very reliant on their solo laners, but now we're seeing a couple of solo laners who don't necessarily have the biggest ability to actually make plays. And that's kind of one of the problems that I've been looking at Team Liquid as a team in this particular draft. Now Yama going in, he's going to find the play onto Prismal, and that's going to be a kill, but the teleport coming through right now, so Lego's looking to counteract it. This is kind of what we were talking about, a little bit overzealousness coming out from the 100 Thieves lineup. They try and go aggressive. They think they have a pick onto Yama because they know how powerful their composition is early on in the game, and end up giving over a completely unnecessary death. Now, luckily for Team Liquid, 100 Thieves wasn't able to actually execute on that, aren't going to be able to pick up this early dragon, but now Grig, even though he picks up that assist, still finds himself a full level behind Meteos in this game, and definitely has to give up this blue buff. We'll see if Meteos can sniff that out, see if he's willing to go take down this blue or start up the dragon. I mean, one of the notable things about this Kog'Maw, once again, is its reliance on blue buff. It has very expensive mana cost for a lot of its abilities. Big God goes in, gets a little bit of damage. But not having the blue buff on the Kog'Maw will really slow down the tier, really slow down this ability's champion to scale later on into the game. And as we already see, 100 Thieves going to be grabbing the first Cloud Dragon for themselves, getting the Mountain Dragon to be spawning next. So as I already touched on a little bit, I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to Prismal this game. He's on an Ezreal. This is a champion that should be able to almost solo carry this game if they are able to actually move around and feel comfortable in their ability to out-position and outrange a lot of these champions. But the biggest thing is he needs to actually remain calm, he needs to continue making good decisions. He made a good one in picking up the kill onto Yama in the first place, but over-chasing a little bit later. So got to pay a lot of attention to how he's going to be using these arcane shifts in fight, how he's going to be rotating between lanes, make sure that he doesn't get caught out and feed into one of the classic blunders that 100 Thieves has been known to make. But Grig, not going to go to his own blue buff, going to be going to his opponents and getting caught out a little bit. There's the ultimate transferred from Meteos, and here comes Fake God, doesn't even need him. Hextech Ultimatum goes down onto Jenkins. We'll see if he can find anything. The flash stun coming out from Fake God as well, and they find themselves a second kill on this top side of the map. And my gosh, guys, this is exactly what we were talking about. 100 Thieves jumping out to an early lead, one of Team Liquid's weakest parts of the game and one of 100 Thieves' strongest. And it doesn't necessarily get a whole lot better from here. You look at the members of Team Liquid, and they don't exactly have the strongest mid-game. You're looking at a Trinity Force coming out from Jenkins, Blade of the Rune King potentially for Rikara, seeing he's already got the double longswords. But this Kog'Maw's not strong at level 9. This Kog'Maw's not necessarily strong until he hits level 11. And they're already falling down to about a 1,500 gold lead. So we'll see if they can start picking it back up. This kill going over to Fake God should allow him to start pushing the gangplank around a little bit more aggressively. But you're comparing this to the power spike of the 2-item Ezreal, building the Muramana and the Trinity Force or the Iceborne Gauntlet, and honestly, he can kind of go with either of them. He's got lots of damage already built into his team. He doesn't necessarily need the damage that the Trinity Force is going to be bringing. And now, waiting to make sure that this crashes, not letting Rikara and Yama build a freeze against themselves, but Prismal and Breezy going to be sticking around in the bottom lane here as well. Now, we haven't looked at the jungle in a little while, and guess what? Meteos once again going for this Rift Herald. FLICKR jumping onto Jenkins, getting a lot of damage now as he does have that Sheen. Just making sure you get those Qs onto your target is going to be able to take down a lot of Jenkins' health. Meteos, again, kind of been the star of this game thus far, finding a huge lead individually over Grig just from the pathing difference. Finding the solo kill onto Grig later on, and as well as helping FLICKR up in the top lane, finding 2 neutral objectives for themselves, and now looking to put FLICKR ahead potentially as he's looking to go for a potential dive. He does have the Rift Herald, so Ligo's coming up. We're looking at a big 3-on-3. Yusui scouting some of these brushes. Are they going to spot it out? The ultimates are committed. Grig does have his as well. Jenkins goes incredibly low. Meteos is going to get the kill, but he's going to be going down as well. So Ligo needs to run away, and he gets sniped out by Yusui, and the rotation coming in from Team Liquid. And this is what we were talking about. 100 Thieves, fantastic early game, but as you start getting into the mid game, they start making more risky decisions, and Yusui and Grig already coming up turns what is looking like a potential easy dive into a total disaster, and it comes back to almost an even game. That's exactly where Team Liquid want to be, but they need to start looking for opportunities to actually build a lead. They still don't have great answers for locking down and actually killing Prismal, who, as an Ezreal, should have the damage throughout the game to potentially carry this all by himself. They need to start building up these items. They need to start getting a lead so they can actually kill him. Now, we keep talking about ranges of engagement, ranges that people can actually do damage to each other, and we've been praising this Ezreal. One thing that does exist on the other side of the map, though, is a little bit of a weak set of engage tools coming out for 100 Thieves. They would like to take team fights because they have so many strong team fighting champions. The Orianna obviously going to be doing a ton of work. Prismal operating at a range that nobody can really contest him, as now we see Meteos coming down, going to be launching the Rift Herald. I have to imagine there it goes, is going to be taking down this bottom lane turret, putting a lot more money into the Ezreal's pockets, just as the Infernal Dragon is getting ready to spawn. But there is another major scaling champion that we currently see, and they are now 2-0-0 in Yusui's Kog'Maw, and the incredible range on the rank 3 ultimate, being able to spot out people from a mile away, but he's got to make sure that he's actually able to get there. You see, he's able to start poking out at Meteos with this blue buff already, but the big thing is, very squishy. If you can ever get on top of him with tools like Fake Gods Camille, you can make this Kog'Maw very miserable. They don't have a lot of tools once somebody's actually landed on them, but there we go. The cleanse is already blown from Breezy. He's instantly blown up. Prismal doesn't have the damage yet. FLICKR going to be flashing forward onto him. Meteos trying to turn it around, but it's not going to be enough, as Meteos, going to be the last member of 100 Thieves, going to have to walk on out of this one. Doesn't have any support from his friends, doesn't have the damage, and is going to be going down. And once again, 100 Thieves overextending a little bit into some of these fights in ways that aren't necessarily to their advantage. They're going into places where they don't have a whole lot of vision control established, and Breezy getting caught there even after using the cleanse is going to give over this Infernal Dragon to Team Liquid. You can't afford to do that with someone like the Kog'Maw, and the Gangplank, who are so reliant on having these base damages to actually play with. Ocean Dragon is going to be manipulating the Rift, going to be bringing all that honey fruit and life to Summoner's Rift across here in this game between 100 Thieves and Team Liquid. And that can change things very quickly. We obviously know how effective the healing can be during team fights and in extended poke situations. So it's definitely something you want to keep off of the Team Liquid side. But here we go, Fake God, Breezy, Jenkins and Yama all here. Oh, going under the turret once again, but immediately spotted out by Yama. They're going to be backing away from that one. As I have to wonder what 100 Thieves do from here. I feel like they generally have this compositional advantage as you start getting into the mid and late game, especially as you start looking at team fighting. But they also have this warrior enchant Olaf. He doesn't necessarily have the same kind of power, and now he's going to get hit by the death sentence, being forced to ult. Dark Passage is there, potentially bringing him away. The arrow is launched, but still immune to crowd control is Meteos, and he's going to be able to walk right on out. But you saw how much damage this guy takes early on. He thought he had a pretty big lead to play with, seeing as he was a couple camps up and a kill or two over Grig. But now he's just so squishy. He's starting to build towards the Black Cleaver, so he has a little bit more damage. But I feel like the time of the Olaf is already starting to fade into the background, and now Rikara and Yusui, with a lot of gold in their pockets, are going to be able to start taking over this game. They've built up a pretty effective siege and poke comp between this Ashe and this Kog'Maw, and the question is then asked, just as we said, 100 Thieves, how are they going to be able to engage? They don't necessarily have a lot of tools to get fights started, short of flanks coming out from people like Meteos and Fake God. But they can answer a lot of the poke that Team Liquid is threatening to put out. They do have the Ezreal. Orianna, not necessarily the safest champion in terms of being able to poke in Siege later on in the game, but is going to hit like a truck every time you go for that QW combo. But the difference is this range discrepancy that exists between Yusui and Saligo. You see, it's very difficult for this Orianna to even interact with the Kog'Maw. It's part of why they've picked up this Hextech GLP. They know that if they can get these fights started, they know that if they can close the range with the Olaf, the Karma, and the Orianna, it's going to be very good for them. But Meteos, potentially getting caught out, does have the ultimate, is going to commit it relatively early on. Very smart, don't want to get caught up by the bear. That's just another tool that they are going to be losing for themselves. They don't have an opportunity to continue going for this fight. They don't have an opportunity to continue pressing the early damage that Olaf does bring, and while he still has a level advantage, you see that he's starting to give over a lot of space to Grig. And now, with the space that they've built for themselves, with the fact that Meteos doesn't have an ultimate, doesn't have a flash, Team Liquid are going to be the ones who are actually going to be taking down this Rift Herald. And the game already shifting pretty heavily, but it doesn't look like 100 Thieves are willing to give it over. The double teleport is coming through. Gangplank does have a teleport, but doesn't have his ultimate just quite yet. 100 Thieves going to be pushing their opponents around once again, going to actually match the teleport. Jenkins does show up, but it's going to be the Rift Herald going over to 100 Thieves, and now with the inside track toward the mid lane, going to be breaking open yet another turret from Team Liquid, trying to snowball an opportunity for this game. Still, Gamer going to be very focused on similar people, as Rift Herald gets a little bit of gold and money, or gold and tempo into the side of 100 Thieves. They have a little bit more space to play with, even though they don't get the second crash here. And that's been one of the things that they have been kind of struggling with in the past, so we'll have to see how effective they're actually going to be with this. They have been known to rotate unsafely in their own jungle and in the opposing jungle, not willing to put down enough vision to actually control a lot of the passageways, not being able to put down enough vision to actually allow themselves to move between the lanes. But as we get close to the next Ocean Dragon, the first Ocean Dragon of this game, we're starting to see small advantages coming out for the side of 100 Thieves. They are up about 1,000 gold. They have completed Ravenous Hydra, so Fake God going to be very powerful in the split up against Jenkins, but it does make this team fight very dangerous. Prismal, you can't do that. This is what we were saying. Prismal, you are reliant on being able to deal all your damage from a range. You can't just walk into these bushes blind. You saw he took 3/4 of his HP, and it might make this Ocean Dragon impossible for them to contest. We'll see what they end up doing, as instead it looks like Fake God and Jenkins already moving their way down. But Team Liquid, with their powerful poke, with the Ashe and the Kog'Maw, potentially having an opportunity to poke things out. But Yusui, look at that, he's low. We'll see if Saligo can spot him out. Not going to be throwing the ball in, and Saligo getting flashed on, going to be using his ultimate just to keep Yama and Jenkins away, but it's not doing a whole lot of damage. We're in that famous Orianna power trough, not going to be having enough AP on their abilities and not high enough bases to allow them to continue fighting in a lot of these long, scrappy engagements. Prismal back up to full health finally, and Meteos has been hitting this Ocean Dragon the entire time. They're trying to find a way onto Yusui. Grig getting caught out by the Hextech ultimatum. A lot of damage coming through. Unstoppable doesn't save you from that ultimate, my friend. We'll see if Fake God can get out, dodging between all the snipes. The bullet hell coming through. Prismal looking for an opportunity to potentially jump onto Jenkins, but instead they're just going to reward themselves with a single kill and this Ocean Dragon, as it looks like 100 Thieves are going to be able to pick that up with slightly better vision control, slightly better rotations, and that's foreshadowing good things later on in the game, seeing as that has been the thing I've been criticizing them for throughout their season. We'll see what else they can do. As this game goes longer, as Yusui continues to get levels, that ultimate is going to allow him to shoot farther and harder over and over again. And we saw that even though he was at half health, he felt totally fine to stick around the fight simply because of the range at which he's actually able to interact with the opposing team. And now, as there are observers showing us where the vision is, you can kind of see that most of 100 Thieves' vision has been on their own side of the map, whereas Team Liquid a little bit more controlling of the river. So this could be an opportunity for Team Liquid to actually spot people out. Look at this, just as we said, Grig is going to get spotted. We'll see if he can actually get onto Fake God. Does have the flash available, and the hook shot going to be ignoring some of the crowd control. No ultimate. Is going to be able to come out from Grig, so Fake God is going to be able to escape with his flash and his life. He's going to be continuing scaling. It's one of the common things we often talk about in League of Legends. Nothing comes for free. You see Grig going down onto the bottom half of the map. That just means that the members of 100 Thieves have an opportunity to run top lane, potentially find themselves this red buff, and now running at Yusui. Dark Passage comes through, and he's going to be able to walk away. But even just pushing this Kog'Maw, pushing out the primary wave clear, does mean that instead, 100 Thieves have more tempo to play with. They can start moving on the map, getting some of this vision down that they so desperately need in order to rotate between the lanes. They pick up another outer turret for themselves. FLICKR going to be the only member of Team Liquid up on the top side of this map that can potentially respond to a push. And it's so scary for Team Liquid to actually walk into this top side unless they know where people are. Luckily for them, Breezy looking to potentially be backing away. Meteo's hitting these Krugs. But FLICKR, he knows how far back he actually needs to play in order to keep himself safe in this game. So we kind of settle into a bit of a lull state. Going to take a little bit more account of the items people have actually been building up for themselves. Fake God naturally looking to be going towards Trinity Force next after finishing the Ravenous Hydra, as compared to the finished Trinity Force and what appears to be an Essence Reaver being built up by Jenkins. But the mid lane is where the items seem to be very divergent between these two characters. Soligo opting for Hextech GLP, the Super Soaker, getting the slowing field shot out pretty aggressively. Oh, we'll get back to that. Look at that. Eevee hookshot. Thank God finds himself safe, but he's going for the Spellbinder. He knows that a lot of his involvement in these team fights is going to be based around his ability to destroy single targets. So the Spellbinder, very, very gold efficient in that regard. You know you're just going to have this burst of AP when you actually go for your ultimate, as well as trying to lock people down. But we'll see. Prismo going aggressive, getting some damage down onto Yusui, is being forced to give ground, but he's still able to participate from such a long ways away that Soligo, Prismo, and Breezy not going to actually be able to do a whole lot of damage to this turret. So I'd kind of like to see them transition a little bit from this poke and siege that they've kind of been going for against a team that is very good at poking and sieging to instead, here we go, Soligo potentially looking for an opportunity to fight the Jenkins. Spellbinder's committed. They start getting a lot of damage onto the gangplank. True Shot Barrage not going to land, but Breezy on the backside going to be picking up the kill onto Jenkins. It gives them an opportunity. The cleanse does come through. Breezy is going to be able to walk away. And this is good. This is what we were talking about. This is what I was going to be looking for. Their ability to start punishing at the side lanes, continuing to split the map, not letting all the poke, all of the wave clear that Kog'Maw and Ashe bring to the table, being able to be brought to bear. As now we see Yusui up in the top lane. We got about 35 seconds left before this next Ocean Dragon is going to be spawning, and that is going to put 100 Thieves one dragon away from Soul Point. And we all know how powerful the Ocean Soul can really be, giving you so much combat sustain. And here we go, 100 Thieves building up the vision that they need to actually start rotating, deny Team Liquid opportunities to push in and even potentially contest this Ocean Dragon. Grig is pushed so far away, and now with no vision, look at that, being forced to use their abilities just to check some of these brushes. We'll see how effective they can be. There's no Enchanted Crystal Arrow available. There's no Gangplank ultimate available. The Cannon Barrage isn't there, but Breezy taking a little bit of damage. The teleport is being committed. Yama getting caught out, getting blown up almost instantly. We'll see what else they can get. Grig finding the back line, going to be jumping onto Breezy, getting so much damage, unstoppable in the back line, but he's going to be going down immediately afterwards. Gotta pay attention to Prismal. He's been able to free hit this entire time. Completely full HP. Jumps onto Jenkins. Not going to get the last bit of damage, but they're jumping onto both the solo laners. Jenkins not going to be able to dodge away from the True Shot barrage. It fills up the entire jungle corridor. Yusui, the last man standing for Team Liquid, as it looks like instead of the Ocean Dragon, who feeling like he needs to flash, perhaps a little bit premature, but now they're going to be going over to this Baron. And ooh, I'm not sure how much I like this idea. It is going to be going up against the Kog'Maw, who has a ton of long-range magic damage, can interact with people over the wall super effectively. Look at how low some of these members of 100 Thieves are. The magic-resistant Shred coming out from the Baron, trying to snipe out the Meteos. Prismal looking to snipe him right on back, but Meteos is going to be able to find it. True Shot Barrage not going to be catching Yusui, not going to make the same mistake as his former top laner, or I guess current top laner. Instead going to be using the Blast Cone, but this is going to be trading back the Ocean Dragon directly back to Team Liquid. And that just puts the Ocean Soul a little bit farther away, but I really like the decisiveness. I wasn't sure about the decision, but I liked the coordination that 100 Thieves were able to bring out. Yusui a little bit too cautious, not willing to walk forward into Prismal. Not able to get enough damage down, not able to dissuade 100 Thieves from actually doing the Baron. And now, 100 Thieves with a 6,000 gold lead, the Baron buff in. Just as we said, Prismal on this Ezreal has the Iceborne Gauntlet, has a Death Dance, has a ton of resists for a traditional marksman. Now going to be so difficult to interact with, and at the same time, Fake God with his completed Trinity Force going to be blowing through these turrets so incredibly quickly. And this is what we were talking about. Look at how dangerous it is to even walk into this part of the jungle. Looking for the shockwave, is going to find it onto Yusui, not going to find the actual kill onto him, but sometimes damage is all you need. You take the wave clear away, Yusui has to back, has to leave. Fake God already picks up the top lane inner turret. The mid lane inner turret going to be going down as well. 2 turrets already picked up on this Baron power play coming out for 100 Thieves as they start to move towards the bottom half of the map. Now it is interesting, they have committed most of their vision to the top side, to the northern quadrant of the map. And that's an opportunity for Team Liquid to potentially find people caught in rotation, simply because 100 Thieves don't have that much vision that they're necessarily playing with, but they're going to be waiting for Soligo. Fake God potentially doing the catching right now, jumps onto Grig, gets the stun down, Hextech Ultimatum on the Bear, can't jump out of that one, but Fake God not being willing to stand in the cannon barrage coming out from Jenkins, wisely going to be backing away. And instead, this entire time in this 4v5, 100 Thieves have allowed Soligo to push up the bottom lane, going to be finding themselves a 3rd turret on this Baron. And we'll see how much time they have left. It has to be ticking down, getting close to the end as Meteos, Breezy, and Prismal starting to hit this mid lane inhibitor turret. And this is fantastic. Meteos does have the ultimate, doesn't necessarily want to use it, is forced to use it as soon as the Death Split sentence lands. Prismal going to be jumping forward with his Arcade Shift once again. True Shot Barrage doing some damage. They're trying to pick up this inhibitor before they leave. They don't have the Baron buff on Fake God anymore. But oh gosh, it's so low. They want to get the last bits of damage. The cannon minion is going to be doing the last bits of damage there, and this is fantastic for 100 Thieves. They are transitioning some of their mid-game team fighting into some of these major objectives, and it's looking really good. Now, again, talked a lot about Prismal, talked a lot about his ability to play at ranges that Ashe, Volibear, Gangplank, Thresh can't really interact with. But at the same time, Yusui, 202 on this Kog'Maw, has 2 items completed, is building towards what appears to be a Rabadon's, simply to make his ultimates do that much more damage, making his E have that slowing field do so much, and his auto attacks still scale with AP as well. So you know that if you get in range, he has a little bit of damage, a little bit of burst with the auto attacks and the shred that comes out from his Q. Breezy walking into a couple people. He might be caught a little bit here. Does have the flash and the cleanse. Might be able to walk out, but Meteos now finding a flank. Team Liquid walking in a spot that they can't, and Prismal going to be picking up a kill onto Ricard. Now they're looking for Yama. No flash on this Thresh, and doesn't matter if you're going to get into cool new skin. It's not going to be enough. Prismal now with the Iceborne Gauntlet flashing forward, trying to get onto Yusui. They're going to be continuing the chase. Fake God finds Hextech Ultimate onto Grig. Can't exit out of that one. Prismal with so much damage and nobody able to contest him, going to be chasing down Jenkins. They're going underneath the inhibitor turret, and this might just be the game. 29.5 minutes as Yasui, going to be the last member of Team Liquid, standing the last one to fall right next to his own fountain. And in just under 30 minutes, 100 Thieves going to be fixing so many of their vision problems, going to be taking another kill and moving up to 6-6.